Well, our relationship with America seems to be getting worse by the day. We've heard reports as an official very close to Donald Trump in the White House is pushing the idea of removing Canada from the Five Eyes intelligence group. And you may ask, what the heck is that? And we'll describe it here very shortly. But this is a very old agreement, a very old group that's been formed starting during World War II between the UK and the United States to share intelligence with each other to fight against the common enemy. This group since has been expanded to countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and to all share intelligence to help fight against hostile countries like Russia and China. That is what we're currently facing. That is the news of today. And quite frankly, it should be very concerning because it's a national security issue. Having each other's six, having each other's backs when it matters most is super key. And so if you are kicking people out of a counterintelligence group where you're able to come together, share what you're hearing, sharing what's been going on, if that's gone, that puts us at an even worse risk from those that do not like our way of life. So we'll read the article and we'll get right on into it. But the fact this is being even brought up in Trump circles should be a grave concern to us here at home. White House official pushes to axe Canada from Five Eyes intelligence group. A top White House official has proposed expelling Canada from the Five Eyes intelligence sharing network as Donald Trump increases pressure on the country. He talks about turning into the 51st state. Peter Navarro, one of the U.S. president's closest advisors, is pushing for the U.S. to remove Canada from the Five Eyes, which also includes the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, according to people familiar with his efforts inside the administration. However, Navarro did not respond to requests for comment. After the Financial Times article was first published, Navarro denied pushing the idea, which he said was crazy stuff. He would never, ever jeopardize our national security with allies like Canada, Navarro said. The White House did not respond to requests for comment. Trudeau's office declined to comment as well. The people familiar with the situation said Navarro, who has easy access to the Oval Office due to his close relationship with Trump, is arguing that the U.S. should increase pressure on Canada by evicting the country from the Five Eyes. It is unclear whether the idea has gained traction with Trump, but is being discussed amongst his officials. This stuff is very serious. And it is also very concerning to see that our mainstream media and those who are getting billions and billions of dollars from our federal government are not covering this situation accurately. I'm still hearing from people who claim to be conservatives are telling me that, we only make up 1% of fentanyl that's going to the States. It's not that much. They're still pushing this idea. And those are people who claim to be conservative. Never mind people on the left. That narrative is incredibly concerning and is an issue. And it needs to be addressed. We need to have accurate, factual reporting on the issue. Because what's going to happen is this story is going to gain more traction. It is interesting that Peter Navarro pulled the old Shaggy and said, wasn't me. But we'll see what happens moving forward. Because we know how this stuff works. These ideas get pushed out and they see the reaction. See if there's taste for it. See if people can handle it. And if people are interested in it and it's popular, then they'll move forward on it. The fact that so many people came out against this shows that, we'll see. But it may come up later. And the fact it's even being brought up as an idea shows you how Canada has fractured its relationships with its biggest and greatest partner. They're going to blame it on Donald Trump. They're going to blame it on the United States. And the people who haven't followed the story for the past several years are not going to realize that even Joe Biden's administration was upset with what we were doing or not doing when it comes to intelligence with China and the fentanyl crisis. We weren't addressing money laundering concerns. We weren't addressing cartel concerns. We weren't addressing fentanyl precursor concerns. We weren't scanning our shipping containers in our ports. We have no federal police at our ports in this country. But no, we're going to make it Trump bad, and that's what the media is going to push. Sorry, that doesn't sit very well with me. And say what you will. We'll see if this picks up any traction in the future, but it is important to report on it. Because even Sam Cooper retweeted this story, saying, most troubling rumors I've been hearing from a military source confirmed. This would be devastating. This wouldn't be a good thing for Canada to be left out of security intelligence, which shows how upset the United States is with the amount of influence we've allowed China to have in our country. This is strictly a response to that. But we're going to cover two sides of this issue. First off, we'll cover why this is being combated even on the United States side of it. And we'll also share what's happening on our side and what is encouraging this conversation to happen. So first off, we go down further in the article, and Steve Bannon put his 2 cents on this whole issue. And it says, Steve Bannon, the former White House strategist who helped Trump win in 2016, said Canada needed to realize that Trump was not trolling Trudeau, but was serious about wanting to annex the country. He said Canada lacked the resources to defend itself, particularly as China attempts to become an Arctic power. But he said any move to evict Canada from the Five Eyes would be a counterproductive move that would just end up hurting America. Canada punches way above their weight. If you look at military history, they've been the best ally we've had, Bannon said. So this is the conversation happening on the United States side of it, and likely what's happening in Trump circles at the moment, where it's a little scary. We probably shouldn't do it. It actually would hurt us more, because what would likely happen, and we're already seeing it in our media, and we're seeing it with trade agreements that Trudeau is entertaining these days, it would actually push us closer to China if this were to happen, which would be terrible and treacherous for the States. And that's the thing, is you want to take a hard stance on your neighbor who's getting a little close to your enemy, but you don't want to take such a hard stance that you push them there anyway. That's what you don't want to do. So right now, what I'm seeing is Trump's administration is playing the, all right, let's push what levers we can, let's put pressure where we can put pressure, and see if we can do this and make sure they secure their borders and secure their country so that we can be secure and keep China out of here. That is likely what's happening in the United States side of all this and the conversations that are happening within their circles. But on the Canadian side, we have to think about this. Why is the United States reacting this way? Why is this even being floated as a potential idea? Well, from what we've seen, it looks like CSIS has lost credibility with the United States government. RCMP has proven and shown multiple times that they are corrupt, and there's an organization we cannot trust, as they've not investigated properly different cases yet. They take a partisan approach. We've shown that our judges in our courtrooms do not take the issue of fentanyl, do not take the issue of these cartels seriously, as we've let off people multiple times, citing the Charter of Rights. So the RCMP has no teeth. The RCMP is compromised, which shows that any intelligence that we share with the United States or shared with us, they don't trust us with it. We saw it with the Biden administration, where the Secretary of State said we can't share intelligence with Canada anymore. So we don't trust where it ends up. We have tarnished this relationship with the United States with every administration that Trudeau has overseen. And right now, we're just seeing the reaction to years of negligence from our government and how they've handled our intelligence agencies and our federal police. That is what we're seeing right now. In our federal government, instead of owning the issue and trying to improve on it, they will just turn the populace on Donald Trump instead. And has Donald Trump made it easy to do that? Yes, he has. But this is where we're at. And the conversation will always come back to, but we put $1.3 billion into the border. We're putting assets. We appointed a fentanyl czar. My friends, it is February 25th. We are 4 days from March 1st. Tariffs are coming because we've not seen any true movement. We've heard appointments. We've heard names floated. I still haven't heard a dang thing from the fentanyl czar. Haven't heard anything from him. I've seen more from Tom Holman on Canadian networks than I've seen from our fentanyl czar. That tells you everything you need to know. Why do I see more of the border czar from America than I do the fentanyl czar in Canada? Tell me about that. It shows that the appointment was a sham. This guy is not serious. The system's not serious. Our intelligence agencies are not serious. I'm not saying that that everyone's bad in these agencies. I'm sure there's some great apples and people who are trying their best to work in a broken system. But the umbrella of leadership, those who make the decisions, the stakeholders, have let our country down time and time and time again. And the house needs to be cleaned. That is just simply the reality. If something as crazy as we get removed out of Five Eyes, as I said, it will push us closer to China. We will align more with a country that we fundamentally don't agree with, which means in Canada, they're a little child. They'll be influenced by the big brother, whether it's in China or a true big brother in the USA. We will be influenced by them. We will not be the ones making the influence. So we will, over time, become more like China and less like our neighbors to the south. And that is the one thing we've always really taken a lot of pride in, is like Canada, we are different from our neighbors to the south. But the thing that we have always at least agreed on, and it's true, we are different from them. But the one thing we've always agreed on is freedom, free enterprise, and capitalism. And we just put our own spins on those things. But our values have always aligned more with the United States than a communist government across the world in China. One who currently has people in concentration camps. And no, I'm not a leftist who is trying to exaggerate the issue. China actively has people in concentration camps, Uyghur Muslims. Remember those stories. Who do we align more with? Who is going to be our influence? This is why this Five Eyes issue is a problem. We need to call it the corruption in our own government, who is encouraging, by their actions, these conversations happening across the border in the White House. We just need to call it out, and we will continue to do so and continue to put pressure. But do you know what's happening today in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill? Well, Canada is putting together a pizza party, and CBC is reporting on it.
We are inside sort of the foyer of one of the busiest office buildings on Capitol Hill, and this is where Canada is going to try and lure in lawmakers, American lawmakers, and their staffers with a number of different things. They're going to try to lure them in mainly with pizza, and then once they get in here, try to ram into them as much information they can about the importance of the Canada trading relationship. But the other thing that is really, really interesting is there's also a theme here. Okay, so if we come over to these tables, it's still being set up. It starts in about an hour. Here is Public Safety Canada. At the table over here, Canada Border Services Agency. And that all of these different tables, it's the Canadian Armed Forces. It is also the RCMP. We also have, what else have we got over here? Hold on. Immigration. All of the things that Donald Trump has complained about, different tables are set up for Canadian officials to just aggressively sort of, ram facts at, American lawmakers, their staff members, whoever it is that they can draw into this event. This is not the first year that the Canadian Embassy has held an event like this. They're bringing in the consul generals, basically the very senior diplomats that are stationed all over the United States. They're all here for a part of this, and they sort of start here and then go out for a day of meetings with lawmakers and different influential people. The thing is, in years past, particularly I'm thinking of last year, the main focus was sort of on trade, but the environment was very different because, of course, Joe Biden was president. It was an election year, and it was unclear exactly what, the Canadian government would have to be dealing with. But this year, because of what's happened with Donald Trump being in the White House, the complaints that Donald Trump has made, and the threat of tariffs, there is certainly a different sort of edge here.
So that's what we're getting. Canadian Embassy hosting a pizza party, job fair style event to talk to U.S. lawmakers. I'm not trying to rag on them because I know they're trying to a degree, but this stinks. I'll be honest, this stinks. This is the best effort we're getting right now. And it's from diplomats on the ground. And the fact none of it's coming from our decision makers in our country. It's all about ramming facts down their throat after they get a pepperoni pizza. That's what we're getting. That's what's happening today. So you wonder why the rhetoric is amping up. Because I'm curious of the facts that they're going to be ramming down their throats. Is the facts that we don't put any federal police at our ports? Are the facts that we don't scan our shipping containers? Is it the facts that judges are allowing drug runners to run free because a dog didn't sit long enough when inspecting their vehicle? What is it going to be? The fact that we have no racketeering laws? Are we going to hit those facts? Or are we going to keep trying to play pretend? What's it going to be? And to finish off, just for a little bit of a giggle, I hit this morning of the leadership debate last night, and Mark Carney doing Mark Carney things. He'll continue to do what he does. You know it. I know it. And your boy, the people, are starting to see it as well. Look at him try to do this whole 10-minute breakdown after the debate, and he didn't know whether to speak in French or English. He was lost.
It sounded like you supported Hamas, and we're wondering, does that mean that your command of the language is not strong enough to do this job, sir?
I'll answer you. You asked me in English, I'll answer in English. I said that we all were in agreement against Hamas, or at least the intention. I look forward, if I'm selected as Liberal leader, I look forward to having a debate avec Yves, François Blanchet et Pierre Poilievre dans la langue française. Et ce qui est... Sorry, I'll answer it. I look forward to having a debate with them in French. And I have to be clear, to be absolutely clear, and I began my response with respect to the Middle East about the fundamental issue that all the hostages have to be returned to their families. And of course, Hamas has no place ever in any future discussions. Point final.
Et français pour la dernière chose sur Hamas, s'il vous plaît.
On the last question in French. All right, fine. Hamas is a terrorist organization.
Just look how annoyed he was. He had to repeat that answer again in French. All right, fine. This man's lost. Get him some help. He's toast. When you watch Pierre Poilievre in French, you wouldn't know that he grew up in Alberta. The way he pauses, the way he exhales is very much reminiscent of a native French speaker. You get them in a French debate, it's over. And this is just the cherry on top of it all, right? But as I said, I'll continue to say it. He is the accident waiting to happen, and it keeps happening. And I'm looking forward to what happens tonight. The English debate takes place, and with next, he'll have no pressure on him. We saw it with the French debate. No one's going to be asking him any real questions. No one's going to be pressing him on anything. If anything, Freeland's going to be helping him, making sure he doesn't flop. Because that's where the real pressure is going to be the English language, or when people can clip it more effectively when he messes up. It will be wild to watch, and I can assure you, since it is the English language debate, as I said, I'm only going to do this once. We will be going live, watching the debate, myself and Reg, and we will be, providing a commentary, laughing when we can, and reacting with all of you fine people. Have yourselves a good one. I'm out.